Welcome to the Simply Authentic podcast with Angie and Tanya, where we strive to inspire, empower, and challenge you to be your most authentic self. We'll talk a little real estate and interview entrepreneurs, business and community leaders, and hear inspiring stories.
Welcome back to the Simply Authentic podcast. I'm Angie Mullings.
And I'm Tanya Murfin. Today we are on location at the 14 Mill Market in Nixa. And we have with us the owners, Leah and Rich Callahan. So we're super excited to interview them and hear about their experience so far and how this place came to be in the first place. So welcome, guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get us started, tell us about your background. What have you done in your lifetime up to this point? And then maybe follow that with how did you get the idea for this in the first place?
Well, I still have a regular job, and I've done insurance. I'm an independent broker representing the Medicare field. So I've done that for about 17 years almost here in Nixa. I have an agency in Nixa. So that is something I've really enjoyed. So we have, in terms of my background, I'm from Houston, Texas, originally. That's where I was born and raised, although left that area at age 12. So,
Okay.
And far as for me, my background, after I graduated high school, I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, all the way through high school. Joined the Navy, did 4 years in the military, got out, ended up in Arkansas in law enforcement, and I was a deputy sheriff for 8 years. That's where we met. She worked at the sheriff's department in warrants. And then we decided to move here in the Springfield area in 2003, and we've been in Nixa since 2005. And I've run heating air conditioning companies. I ran Air Services Heating and Cooling for quite a few years. And then when we sold that to Apex, I was the training and development director for the Midwest, where I traveled, a few states to help train other companies and do business development. And then we decided to do this. I mean, we knew we wanted to do a business here in Nixa. Community-based. We didn't know what that was. We love to travel, and we did a weekend trip to Tulsa, and we were just, she was on Pinterest finding out what to do, and we found Mother Road Market, which is a food hall in Tulsa, and we fell in love with the concept and kind of traveled, and I've already been to 20 of them before this, and
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you got the concept idea from a different location. And like you said, the more I travel, the more of those I see. I didn't even know it was a thing 5 years ago. And then the first one I think I went to was in Boston, Faneuil Hall. And but I know all the concepts are slightly different. So here you have independent restaurants that sign a lease to come in and have their business here for a short time, or what does that look like? They sign a lease for a year. You hope to have different ones in. Are they incubators? How does that work?
We have a 1-year lease with all of our restaurant owners, and there may be some of those that we decide mutually we want them to stay, they want to stay. This may be kind of a platform for their business to grow, and they may decide after a year, hey, we kind of maybe want to do our own brick and mortar, and that's okay. That's kind of the business model of the food hall is just provide this smaller kitchen restaurant space for these restaurants to thrive, to get creative, to reduce overhead, and really focus on the things that brought them into the kitchen in the first place, was their desire to provide amazing food and to watch people eat that amazing food. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities at the end of that 1-year lease for us to just assess with them. We do have, I think currently just about 20 people on a waiting list. So at that year end, end, we'll just do a lot of discussion prior to that year end, just do a lot of discussion and kind of figuring out if things need to change. I think that's part of what keeps the food hall fresh and interesting, is that you're probably not going to see these 10 restaurants for years upon years upon years. And that's a good thing. It just, that constant churning is bringing really nice interest for years to come. So,
Right. So tell us just a few of your tenants here. What kind of food can someone expect to get here?
So the first one we have is Snowbiz Plus, which is a shaved ice and ice cream. They bring in the Ice Cream Factory, which is a local area ice cream from the Lebanon area. And then we have Lindsay's Bakery and Bistro, and they offer anything from fresh cinnamon rolls to scones to fresh salads, avocado toast, soups, and for lunch and dinner times. We have Fresh Poke, which is a kind of like a sushi in a bowl, a Hawaiian style sushi. And he does other things like edamame on the weekends. He's doing pot stickers, and his menu's growing. Then the next one is Not Your Ordinary Taco. Not Your Ordinary Taco is they award-winning taco truck or food truck for a long time, and this is their first brick and mortar, along with a lot of them. And then the next one would be Queen City Soul Kitchen. They do have a restaurant in Springfield. They wanted to expand into Nixa, and this gave them a great opportunity to bring in some really good Southern cooking, and it's fantastic.
meatloaf, collard greens, mac and cheese. They're doing fried catfish on Fridays.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Nice.
And then the next one is Liège Love Waffles, which is a different kind of waffle. It's made almost out of a dough, not a batter. And then you can get those anything from a Monte Cristo sandwich to a dessert waffle. And then Moe's Sliders is the next one, which is small sliders. They have everything from, your typical small cheeseburger, fried chicken, grilled chicken. They have BLT sliders.
I'm getting really hungry.
Yeah.
we may need to break for lunch.
Yeah. And then the exciting thing about them, when we're talking about expanding and changing, Moe's Sliders and Liège are partnering up, and they're going to be doing breakfast starting a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow. And they'll have everything from breakfast burritos to, made to order eggs, bacon.
Traditional breakfast items.
Benedict's. They'll have a full breakfast menu. And also Lindsay's is open. Lindsay's Kitchen is open for breakfast as well. And along with Abby's Acai Bowl, which is another company that we have that offers fresh acai bowls. You would see her also at the farmers market in Springfield.
Okay.
They have a little trailer there that they serve fresh, healthy
I've seen her
options.
there.
Yeah, she's got a great product. She's expanding here in the next week to fresh squeezed juices. So she'll have a whole lineup of fresh juices, just pure juice.
Wow.
Yep. Then we have Pie Paradiso, which is fresh pizza by the slice, or you can get a whole pie. And Divine Deli. And Divine Deli is gourmet sandwiches. They do have a restaurant in Springfield. They're bringing in even lobster rolls here in the future, charcuterie boards, and just really good meat, high quality meat sandwiches. He also is the owner of the Pie Paradiso too, so he has both spots. Okay. He is a chef from the East Coast in Chicago. He's ran big restaurants. Moved to the Ozarks several years ago, and he just loves the concept of the food hall, and so his recipes are really, really fresh and unique. So and then we have Weisner Bar, and that's the bar.
Yes.
So Weisner Bar, we call it Weisner Bar because the founding feed mill that was here was Weisner Feed Mill. Barney and Lois Weisner started the feed mill back in the 50s, and that's why we call it. And it's a full bar.
Okay. Gotcha. And so is that owned by you guys?
It is, yes.
Okay. I assume that, but I'm glad I asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we were standing out there, we're here on a Monday. You're closed on Mondays.
Correct.
Have you gotten any feedback on that, negative feedback? Because as I stood here waiting for us to get set up, there were 3 people in that short time that came up to the door and were like, darn it, they're closed today.
Yes, there are always cars pulling in the parking lot on a Monday because we have such long hours and we work all weekend long. We need Mondays.
I'm sure you do.
Beyond just the 2 of us, our vendors need
I'm
it.
sure.
Yeah.
They are pulling very long days.
Yeah.
serving a lot of food. So Monday is a busy work day for them
Yeah.
on the back
Catching
end.
up.
So
Yeah.
we'd
Prepping.
love to be open
Yeah.
on Mondays, and that would certainly be something we would assess in the future.
Sure.
But right now, as we're still getting our feet on the ground, we've got to have these days to get ready for the week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Yeah.
project and repair day for us, and then also
Yeah.
the vendors are back there doing preps and getting ready for the long week
Yeah.
on anything they can, and they can prep in long periods of time.
For sure.
Yeah. You have a great variety of restaurateurs here. Was that intentional? Like, did you set out to say, we want a pizza guy and we want to, was that really intentional?
Yeah, I think when we first decided we were going to build a food hall, and we explored all of these other food halls across the U.S., we were diligent to take notes. I mean, we have an Excel spreadsheet that we just lined up, things that were similar
Yeah.
and different with each of these food halls, and we observed the different kinds of restaurants that we thought were working and were not working. And so, yeah, we knew kind of exactly what kind of different concepts we wanted in here. That will change as we go forward, and there are new cuisines that become trendy.
Yeah,
true.
But yes, that was very intentional. And we didn't want any of that layering competition between vendors. We wanted to protect their concepts, so we didn't have those 10 vendors competing directly with each other.
Yeah. I love that, and I love the idea that you're expanding into breakfast. Now, do all vendors have to, you said just some of them are going to provide breakfast, so it's not like you're going to hold somebody to doing a breakfast menu and a lunch menu and a dinner menu. They have the option to do that as long as they provide that lunch dinner. Is
Yes.
that
Correct. There were minimum hours that we required with all of our vendors, and that was for the lunch and dinner crowd. And so anybody who chooses to do breakfast, we're excited about. But that would be optional. Yes.
Yeah.
There aren't very many brunch places around here. I don't
You're
feel
right.
like, and
You're
I feel
right.
like we keep losing them. So, would you call yourselves a brunch place when you start serving breakfast?
Oh,
the bar will be
absolutely.
open
Yeah.
for mimosas and Bloody Marys and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yep.
We're
That's
not
cool.
we're
Yeah.
just in constant learning mode.
yeah, for sure.
So we knew, and we said multiple times before we opened, that once we opened, the community would tell us what they need.
You're right. Yeah.
And so we're open to that. And,
Yeah.
and just that's been a challenge as we've opened, with just trying to instill to the community our hours, lunch, dinner hours versus bar hours versus that breakfast, brunch hours. That's tough.
It is.
To do.
You're right.
But yes, we'd love to become a brunch spot. Absolutely.
So you said the word challenge. So tell us, I know being an entrepreneur, we're entrepreneurs ourselves. We know that there's never a written script and a book that here's how it's going to go and good luck. Start reading from chapter to chapter. So tell us about, as you were starting with the idea and up to opening, and then afterwards, what are the biggest challenges you've faced, and maybe how have you overcome those, or is it still a challenge in the works?
Well, yeah, we had quite a few challenges as we were going forward. First, all the way from concept to general contractor woes. I became the general contractor of the build early on. We had a lot of, even going to the bank and saying, hey, we're going to open a food hall, and they're like, you're going to open a what?
Yeah.
And the research and the paperwork that we had to do for that, for them to be able to sign off. But
Yeah.
Bank of Missouri has been awesome for us, for far as them to take that on, and they've been great partners for us.
Good.
And then we wanted the big grain silo out by the street, and the city at the last minute said, no, you can't do that, it's too tall. So we had to pivot there, and we've had a few other challenges on that side. And of course, you always think you have it all figured out, but we have refrigeration, freezer issues, just not enough, and that was the big thing when we first opened. They were running out of food, and before we could even close. The other challenges that we have that we're facing now is we, as the bar and for Nixa, one of the big things was to to bring something that was later. One of the polls was like, hey, we don't have anything to do in Nixa. We live or work. We live in Nixa, but we work in Springfield. And if we want to do anything, we have to go back to Springfield at night.
Yeah.
So we chose early on to kind of leave the hours a little bit longer than a lot of typical food halls. So, Tuesday through Thursday, we're open till 10 p.m. The bar is. And then Friday, Saturday, we're open till midnight. And we're trying to bring in that happy hour before crowd. And then we're also trying to bring in some later nights. And that's going slow, but we're not giving up on it right now.
Sure.
We're gonna assess that as we go. We bring live music in every Friday and Saturday night. But the vendors, because of labor shortage and stuff like that, and their models, they have the option to close at 8 on Tuesday through Thursday, and an option to close at 10 on Friday, Saturday. So the bar's just staying open those extra 2 hours. So those are the challenges for all of us, is trying to figure out what do we do in the late night.
We're kicking off in September a couple of activities, later evenings with trivia and with music bingo. And we also have a welcome back to school night geared toward high school and college age coming up in late August. So we're slowly just introducing those events. So we're excited to see kind of how that tests here in this market.
For sure.
I would say the only other challenge that we probably have to mention is maybe the parking. While we're a downtown business, most food halls that we visited had zero parking. Here was unique because we have almost 4 acres and that we could build on. And so we have almost 110 parking spots here, and that's amazing for any downtown location. But as we've been so busy, the challenge was we didn't have enough. Well, that was a good thing to us. That meant we were busy, and we have consistently stayed busy, and that's great. But early on, we were able to really communicate well with Thrive Church down the road to say, would it be okay if we sent some of our customer parking to your parking spot? It's just like a block down the road. It's a huge parking spot that's underused, except for on Wednesday nights, of course, or Sundays for church. And they were so gracious. And in return, we're letting them use this meeting space that we're in right now for their staff meetings once a week. And so it was a really nice trade for us to work with them and provide some overflow parking. So really, we haven't seen as much of the parking challenges. I do think maybe in the Ozarks, people aren't as willing to walk a little bit of distance as maybe we see in some other cities. We're grateful for the business, though.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of construction right around you
There
right
is.
now.
Yes.
When that all gets completed,
Yes, there
I
is.
think it's going to make things so
Little
much
nicer.
easier, walkability, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's just going to
You're
take
right.
some time. A couple of things that you mentioned there. One is you have challenges, and you just have to, like any entrepreneur, you've just got to kind of roll with the punches, right? As they come, you're trying to tackle those. And one of those, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, is listening to the feedback. So talk to us about what that feedback has been from the community. How do people just come up and talk to you? Do you get responses on the website? What does that feedback look like?
Feedback has been really great, especially on weekends when we're having all kinds of live music. Many times we try to sit down during those live music times and just enjoy the music. And we'll have just a number of people that recognize us from some of the construction videos and just say, "Are you the owners?" And then just say they're just grateful. I had a lady come up to me recently, and she just said, she's an older lady, and she said, "I just see so many generations here playing at once." And it's so nice
So
to
true.
have a venue that is bringing all of those together. We love that feedback because that is exactly what we wanted to build.
Yeah.
Something that all ages could hang out and have a great time. I think people are loving the choices, just to be able to come in and have so many choices. It can be overwhelming when you first
Right.
walk in for
Yeah.
the
Oh,
first
yes.
time.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And
It's actually pretty funny to watch.
it is funny. Yeah, we told our staff from the beginning, many of them are young people, and just watch those doors when people walk in, because they'll stop when they first walk in, and their mouths kind of open, and they're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
taking it all in.
Yeah.
So that's a good response. We're trying to, with some of the more overwhelming decisions, we're trying to improve those processes for people so that it's not too stimulating.
Yeah, I mean, we've had complaints about the parking, and I mean, we do not, definitely never encourage or want somebody to park in somebody's front yard.
Sure.
Right.
That's not what we want.
Or in another business.
Or in another
Yeah.
business,
Right.
yeah. And there's city parking right across the street as well, and as she talked about Thrive. Some of the negative things, I think, just learning what this is. This is not fast food or restaurant chain, so this food is not prepped and frozen and shipped in on a truck. They're back there, making this by hand. I mean, these are chefs actually creating these dishes. So you'll get every once in a while, it was really good, but the portion sizes or whatever
It's
is.
a high price point.
High price or point, compared to, I can go to Wendy's and get a burger and fries for this. We've had a few of those, and it's just kind of educating people that it's more of a different experience, and you're not going to see a fast food restaurant here. You're not going to see a chain
No.
here.
Right.
These are all going to be local chefs, local inspired community restaurants, and they're supporting their families and jobs and
Yeah.
getting all these fresh ingredients, and it takes a lot of prep in the back.
Paying the kind of wages I think that you have to pay in a restaurant. We all love to socialize in restaurants, but it is, and he and I do not come from restaurant backgrounds, so this has all been such an eye-opening experience. But
sure.
observing what these restaurateurs endure day to day, from customers, from labor, from just effort and energy and exhaustion, you have to pay for that, and the kind of wages they pay to their people, to have good people who will work hard. That reflects in some of those price points, and we're proud of that. We're proud that these owners are paying wages that are great, so they have great people to interact, because it's front facing. There's not kitchens you can go and hide in. So we want those employees to engage well with customers and to have a good experience. So that's, like he said, that's something we have to just keep educating people on, not to expect those fast food prices.
Yeah, it's a great
Absolutely.
distinction to make, because it is high quality food costs more money. That's just that's just how it is.
For sure.
Yeah.
I have to say, I grew up in Nixa. So when this concept came to be and you guys first announced it, I was thrilled, because I agree with what you said about, people had said, we live in Nixa, we commute to Springfield for work, we got to come home and wrestle the kids and get ready to go back to Springfield for entertainment. And so that was my first thought, is, oh my gosh, people who live in Nixa now can stay in Nixa and support a local business and entertain their family and meet friends. And so I loved it so much. And I remember coming to the mill as a child with my grandpa, because we would come up here and buy feed.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have a vision of walking
Good.
into their desk that they had, and the smells that you would smell there.
Yeah.
So being here and having you guys really represent and support that mill background, I think that's really cool too, coming from a Nixa person.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we knew challenges with the food hall. You said in Nixa, going and going to 20 different food halls and exploring. They're all in big cities.
Yeah.
So we bringing this concept into more rural. I don't know if there is another one.
Agree.
But we knew and we knew that we had to bring the family involvement. The turf was huge. The outdoor space is huge. There's a reason why we decided this building faces this way instead of facing the street,
Sure.
is so that patio is on the shade. So we know that it's a little bit outside the box even for a food hall to be in Nixa. But Nixa's been an awesome community supporting us, and we've been seeing people from Springfield, Republic, Ozark, Willard, Branson on a daily basis.
We've had
That's awesome.
several customers say things like, "Oh, I wish you would build this in Republic or in Springfield," and we're like, "No, we want you to come to us."
Yeah.
Because this needs the support of all of our communities.
It does.
in order to be successful, and so we're glad to welcome them all.
You
Absolutely.
sort of mentioned the turf. Tell our listeners what what they can find here altogether. We're in a private room here, and I know you rent that out. But what other options do they have here?
We have in front of our patio that's on the east side of the building, we have a bocce ball court. Not everybody knows what bocce ball is. It's just a really easy, fun game that you can play all ages. So that's free. We just have our guests check the equipment out at the bar. And so in addition, we have about 5,000 square feet of artificial football field that we acquired from a high school out of Chicago, just a part of their field. And so it's just a really large outdoor play space. We have 6 sets of cornhole boards that he built. And we, even in the 100-degree temperatures, we see families out there playing. It's been incredible. We have a stage out there for live music. And so it has some really pretty LED string lights above. So that is another play space, but also another reservation space if someone wanted to reserve that whole space. In addition to this meeting room that we're in, it's a conference style room, but it can be used for birthday parties. All kinds of, we've had Bible studies, just all kinds of meetings have been reserving in this space. I think as far as outdoor space.
Well, we have the fire pits. We have 4 fire pits. Yeah. Underneath the patio, we have 3 sets of smaller with Adirondack chairs, if I said that right. I'm always messing that word up, but that's okay. With fire pits. And then we have one with 8 chairs around it. And that one's reserved the most. I mean, so we had a bachelor party out here the other day when it was like sauna weather out. It was horrible. They still wanted that fire pit on.
They wanted to kick off that fire pit.
Yeah, and we loved it.
Awesome.
We loved it. So, and
you don't have to reserve.
Yeah.
Pay money to reserve those fire pits and the
Got it.
seating. It's just that if you want to guarantee a seat in a
Okay.
fire pit, we do have those for reservation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything that we have on the grounds is open to anybody.
First come, first
First
serve.
come, first
Yeah.
serve.
Yep.
Okay.
And literally one of the best patios around, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's a
We
big
love-
patio.
it is.
We love outdoor eating, and
Yes.
every time, and that's one of the things when we go around, it's like, where can we eat outside, and where did they not put the patio on the west side or the south side
Yes.
of the building?
Yes.
It's like they put them. I don't just for some reason on that
In the
west
sun.
side in the sun. So that's something that we love. We'll eat outdoors any chance we get. So that's why we have the patio facing the way it is, and it's a 2,000 square foot covered and about another 1,400 feet of uncovered patio out there with seating. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Phenomenal.
You guys had a really cool job to do before you brought this here. You got to travel around and
Yeah.
sit and people watch.
Yes.
And
Good
try
fun
some
research.
food and listen to music. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It
Yeah.
was an enjoyable process, but he and I have always done business well together. We're a little bit of the business nerds. We love talking business. We love observing business and how things could be better, how we could tweak things.
What would we do?
What would we do
Right.
as a Southwest
Yeah.
Missouri business?
Right.
And just reading people. So that part of the data collection, it was really fun. And now we're in the second phase of data collection.
Yes.
And now that we're built and we're here, just taking the feedback and just figuring out how to pivot and be better. So.
Right. So for our listeners that might be thinking about potentially opening a business, those entrepreneurial minds out there, is there a couple of tips that you would give, things that they should do before they take that leap?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we did early on here is we had a meeting with the mayor, city planners, MoDOT,
The chamber.
We had 14 people, realtors, all in a meeting before we even launched this to launch the idea to them in a closed door and said, tell us we're stupid. Just tell us that and we're okay, right?
Yeah.
Give us your red flags.
Honestly.
Right. Give us the
Of
red
course,
flags up
yeah.
front before we even start.
That's great.
And get them and understand where their mindset of whatever city you are, understand where the city wants to go with it and how they're going to help, right? So I think getting them behind it will really help somebody launch a business, like really get people involved. We dealt with we used Show Me Christian County, a nonprofit that helped us with projections and demographics and even they even helped with some projections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's all. Do all of those due diligence of any kind of resource that you can get. Use them. They were great. And then be patient with construction if you're building new. So
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
timetables are just never, even when contractors tell you a timetable, you just basically have to add months to that.
Yeah.
It's just, because that is so frustrating, and so just to be prepared for that. And the other thing I would say is to just be really humble. I think even younger people who are excited to start their own business, they have such a confidence in their own skills. And one of the more important things for us was to humble ourselves and just acknowledge weakness immediately from the beginning and say it out loud. Okay, we don't know what we're doing in this area.
Right.
We need to go to the experts and literally just find those people who are experts, humble yourself to them and say, teach me.
Yeah.
And that is the way we tried to do it from the beginning. And I think it went really well because they just, we don't know it all.
Well,
We
that's
can't
a good
know it
story.
all.
That's a good story in itself. I mean, after we left Mother Road Market and we were headed back to Springfield driving, and all we did was talk about it all the way, Leah decided, hey, I'm just going to reach out to them and see if they'll even talk to us, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we prayed about it and said, okay, that's what we're going to do. And then she sent an email off to Mother Road Market. It was like 30 minutes. They responded and said, we'll open everything up to you. Heck yeah, we're here for you. And we made several trips down there, met with them, brought our architect down there, all the way to Tulsa. And they showed us their books. They showed us what they would do, what they wouldn't do in the next time.
It was real mentoring.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
food
We're
halls
very
around here
appreciative
to
of that.
mimic. So
Right.
Yeah.
that was such a blessing to have that.
Yeah. Those are great tips.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I would think maybe without that mentorship, things would have looked a little bit different in your discovery of
Yes.
how do we figure this out on our own. So I think
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
the tip there is don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid because you
Yes.
might just get come in and we'll show you and tell you everything. That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Not only ask the question, but don't be afraid if you don't understand the question to keep asking.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
Don't give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Rich and
great.
Leah, we appreciate you guys opening yourselves up, opening your food hall up to us. I just can't say enough about how excited I am for the Nixa community and, as you pointed out, Rich, all of our other communities coming in
Thank you.
to experience your food hall as well. Because if we're willing to get in the car and drive back to Springfield,
Yes.
we're going to be willing to get in the car and drive to Nixa
Yes.
if we live in
That's our
Ozark or
hope, yes.
Republic or whatever.
Right.
I think so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for the chance to talk about it. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
We always like to ask you if you have an interesting real estate story, since that's what we do for a living. Do you have anything that's happened in your lives that was ridiculous, scary, a huge win for a real estate story? House
Just-
you've bought?
Want to tell the story about how we bought this? I mean,
Yeah,
that would be.
I
that would be
mean,
it.
this is to us. How this could even happen started with real estate.
Okay.
This property was not on the market.
Yeah, and I mean, we went in to want this property. It wasn't on the market. We just thought it would fit from our research, and we presented an offer. The realtor said he's already been offered more than that, and he's turned it down. I'm like, well, this is a good starting point.
Sure.
That very next morning, he signed. He's like, yep,
Wow.
let's do it. And one of the other, realtor woes is that at first we definitely wanted to keep the old mill. That was the idea, to keep the front of it and build off of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Architects were shaking their heads. No, it's not going to happen unless you have really deep pockets, which we couldn't do. And so we did try to pay tribute, like you talked about earlier, to the mill as much as possible. But so we had to tear down, and we weren't thinking that at first. But the blessing of just getting the realtor, it not being for sale.
Right.
And then to accept the offer the
Well,
very next
we wouldn't
day.
have known
Agree.
it. The contacts and the background information that realtors have
Yes.
is so much more. So if we had not shared with our realtor that we thought this would be a great location, and for him to say, well, let me talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the connection you get from a realtor who knows
you're
the
right.
community and things that a lot of other people that isn't common knowledge.
Right.
Right.
And that was really cool. And the gentleman that we bought this from, who was operating the feed mill at the time, when his wife found out that we wanted to make an offer, I think it was she who prodded him to say, take that offer. And so she was ready for him, I think, to retire.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Time to move on from this. So
different.
the kind of encouragement that a spouse,
Yes.
Yeah.
that was really neat. So
that just makes you think it was meant to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that story.
Yeah,
I love that
that was
it tied
great.
into where we are today.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So thank you for listening to the Simply Authentic podcast. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Thanks for listening to the Simply Authentic podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Be sure to listen to us on your favorite podcasting app.